made their dreams a reality. I hope it will encourage you to go after yours as well. My first guest is a musical artist, Marc Jonson. Marc, I'm so pleased that you were able to come today and talk with us.
Glad to be here.
And I want to talk about how you came to music. I know we had spoken a little bit, and you're totally self-taught, and I think it's an interesting story how you even got started when you were a child. So can you tell us a little bit about how it all evolved?
Well, there was a piano in our house that my sister played, and she was 7 years older. So when she got to be playing with her friends, you know, she kind of like left the piano, and there it was. So I just sat down and never got up again, and just taught myself how to play. You know, I would sit there in the afternoons and just sort of bang away at notes and not really know what I was doing, but it made a sound, and it kind of made me happy, and, you know, made me, you know, I don't know. And then I started playing this boogie-woogie beat, and my parents started hearing it, and so every time there'd be friends over, they'd say, "Marc, play the boogie-woogie." And I started, you know, getting attention, and so that was like a big part of it. And from there it went to, I played the drums in 4th grade. I mean, that was piano was very young. That was like 7 years old. And then from that point, I got into the school band. And since there was no piano in the school band, I was really attracted to the way the drums looked, you know, the drums and the sound of the drums. So I started playing drums. Along came Bob Dylan and the Beatles in the 60s, and I wanted to play the guitar, and Elvis, I wanted to play the guitar. So that kind of rounded me out. So here I am, piano, drums, and guitar. And because drums are a rhythmical instrument, I started writing songs with kind of you know, rhythmical type words and music, because I was a drummer. And I've heard it said before, a lot of songwriters say that, you know, if you knew how to play the drums and you were a drummer, it was not a handicap at all, that you could go from one to the other pretty smoothly, and that it was a big help to, you know, to kind of like, and then if you played the guitar, you just kind of put those two things together, and the song is there.
It's amazing. And now with all the synthesizing that you can do, I can't even say that word today, but
synthesizing.
You can get the drums going, and you don't have to be tapping anything, or this going and that going. And can we talk about a little bit about when did you said you never got up. When did you decide, like, this is it, this is my career, this is my vocation? At what point in this journey, or have you even gone?
Well, I was totally fascinated by Elvis when I saw him on television. In fact, I told my friends that he was like my second cousin. I was very young. It was just, you know, I must have seen him in 57, and I was just, you know, for 5 years after that, I was like smitten with him. And so I told all my friends that I knew him and that he was like a distant cousin, because he seemed so regular and so unlike anything I had seen before. You know, most people on television were like, they wore suits and they were very reserved, and here was this guy with a lot of energy. But I still didn't think, I mean, I made a guitar out of cardboard, I remember, and painted it and like put a string around it. And I had the nerve to wear it outside once, and this girl in the neighborhood who was older, like, totally made fun of me and just, you know, wrecked my year. You know, and I guess it wasn't until like a few years later that with the advent of the Beatles, you know, that's when I decided I could do it, you know, because that's what they told everybody, that, you know, we're 4 guys, we're self-contained, we don't need anybody else. And I guess that was the thing that made me realize that I had already been like one of these guys and didn't know it. You know, so they kind of, I identified with them And even though I was a lot younger, identified and said, now I'm going to do this.
That's great. I want to talk a little bit about, because I don't want to run out of any time, your music and what it's based in. I know it's got a lot of influences from other people, and what's your sound and what you're trying to put out for people to hear? And then we'll look at your tape.
Well, I love the period of music. I think when you're growing up, you always love the period of music when you're a kid, because I think all art is really just the recallance of childhood. You know, because you're sort of still in the other world, you know, when you're a kid, and then all of a sudden you mature and your voice changes, and you start getting attracted to the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever, and you start realizing that there's this earth. And then I think you have a longing, if you're an artist, you have a longing to kind of like recreate this mystery again. I think that's what art, for me, that's what art is. It's always trying to, you know, find romance and mystery, and I do it with music. I do it with melody and lyrics.
Great.
You know.
Can we look at the
Well, this is something. The way I've always worked is that I've always found recording in my home like the most relaxing, and it's like my living environment. I find going into a studio, it takes a while to get used to it. And since you don't have a lot of money, like the Beatles recorded at Abbey Road, but it was more like their house, because they were the Beatles, and they just said, you guys can just stay here for as long as you want, you know. But most groups, most artists can't do that because they don't have that kind of budget.
Right.
So when you record in your house, it's your environment, and you really can get in touch with those ghosts and things that fly around when you want, and so that I always felt was, you know, the place for me, and so whenever I did produce something, like when I was in high school, I produced this record years.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is.
Just show this.
This is.
You're getting this there. Let me do this.
I walked into New York City and had a tape I had made over the course of about 5 or 6 months in my bedroom with my parents telling me to shut up. Just walked into 1650 Broadway, which had all these doors, and I knocked on one. This woman, Myrna Greenfeld, still remember her name, sent me over at RCA. Within a week, they were offering me, well, about 2 weeks, they were offering me a contract.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it was the 70s, so it was a lot different. But that was purely based on, I had no, you know, Buddy took me into a big studio, no producer, no, you know, manager. And then later in the 80s, I put together a bunch of other songs that I made in my apartment, and made this record called 12 in a Room, which I have
this
yeah.
CD down here somewhere. You can keep talking because we got to move along. Okay, I'll hold it up.
12 in a Room is 12 songs recorded in my apartment.
There's a cute picture of him on the back.
And there he is. And that record, again, was, you know, the feel of it is just so, you know, it's just home, it's like homemade. And I think that that's the thing about it that I love.
Can we look at the homemade video?
And now here's a homemade video.
Before we run out of time.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody warned me, they said I'd have to pay. You were so famous, baby, they said you'd go away. I paid the price of admission more than once or twice for a front row seat to see you. Now wouldn't that be nice? But they put me in the balcony for all that cash I spent. And as your voice was fading, I knew just what they meant. How'd you get so famous, baby? Was it those clothes you wore? How'd you get so famous, baby? And who'd you do it for? I came up from behind you, had to get your autograph. Then I saw your sequin eyes, you know I just had to laugh. But they put me in the balcony.
Great, I love it. It's wonderful. And I want to, it's just the whole, it all fits together. So, like what you said, everything would fit together. Before we run out of any kind of precious time, I want you to talk about your current project that you produced, and it's just released, and it's For the Love of Harry, everybody sings.
Harry Nilsson.
And tell them about who he is. Some people.
Nilsson is a wonderful, wonderful sort of comic singer-songwriter, but he's more than just, he's not a funny songwriter, but he's got a wonderful sense of humor. And he was John Lennon's very good friend, and he had two big hits. One was in the movie Midnight Cowboy, Everyone's Talking at Me, and the other was I Can't Live Without You. Can't live if living is without you. And for the most part, he was an unknown singer-songwriter. He wasn't mainstream. He never performed, and I don't know, nobody seems to know why he never performed, but he died last year, and a whole bunch of people got together, and they asked me to contribute one song with my friends, the Roaches, three girls from New Jersey.
Yeah,
the Roaches.
I love them.
And so we picked this one Harry song called Spaceman, and I produced it, got my two buddies from the Smithereens, that rock and roll band, and we went in, recorded a new arrangement. The girls put this great vocal on it, and we sent it in, and that's one of the songs on this great record.
It's great.
Ringo Starr is on this record, Brian Wilson, Fred Schneider from the B-52s, Jimmy Webb, there's a whole, Randy Newman, Richard Barone. It's a great record, and it's a tribute to a guy who I identify with, again, who is sort of, was never hugely famous, but, still, he has a body of work which is going to stand the test of time.
Right.
Hopefully, all ours will.
Right, and yours will, definitely.
Yeah.
I got it published, and I just want to ask everybody, just really quickly, what's your ultimate goal, or what do you want to leave society with the work you do? Whatever you want to say, because we have like about a minute. And they're going to be showing Vivian stuff while we go.
Can I just say that I really want to empower consumers to take control and not have to be limited by what people tell them. They can learn what they need to take control, and that's what I offer them in my works.
How about you, Marc? With your
just to find just a lot of the stuff she was saying. Just to find, yourself. To be secure in who you are and project that to the world. And by changing and allowing growth to happen to you, you do change the world. And it's like a real way of changing the world, just by working on yourself.
That's great. And now on that great note, we're going to go. And I thank you so much. I wish we had, as always, more time because you're both so gifted and talented. Thank you for being here and sharing your goals and dreams. Thank you for tuning in. Join us again. Till then, be well.
Thank you.
Thanks.